Hey everybody, it's Lebo with Lebo's Pinball. We are on part 10. I can't believe we're on part 10 of this Getaway restoration for Pinball Garage. I've got the playfield mostly together now. Since the last video, a couple things just want to go ahead and point out. I've got, I think we already had the plastics in place, but I got the wire form or habit trail installed on both sides now. And I added in a couple other things. Now, I mentioned before, like the spotlights that I added here. See how it kind of helps kind of light up a little bit of a dark spot. I did the same thing with a light that shines up in this area. And then there's also one here that it doesn't look like it's shining up much, but you got to realize once this game's actually back inside the cabinet and it's got the walls to the left and right of it, that will make a difference. This game's also going to get the blades. I will be adding those kind of one of the last steps. So anyways, I've added those lights, went ahead and put in a trough light, and I will also show this apron here in just a second, but the trough light, and just to kind of point it out, it's actually a purple light. It's the same light that I went with for these spotlights. It's not real purplish, but it does kind of help with making things like this, like the orange and the blue paint here that's on the playfield to really kind of pop. So that's the reason why I go with that. Other thing I'll go ahead and point out, I like to do these custom cars. Some folks are really generous and put some neat designs out on Pinside, totally free. They're there for sharing, and then I've taken them and I might tweak on the design a little bit myself. Like for this one, since it's going to Pinball Garage, put in a little blurb here. Anyways, what we're going to do today, now that we've kind of gotten most of this playfield pretty much done, and we are still waiting on some stuff here for the coil and the plunger for the ball shooter to make that a little better, freshen that up. I got thinking, I was like, I never did change out the sleeves that are on the slings here. So we're going to flip the playfield back over, pull a couple things apart underneath there, and go ahead and throw those on. So hang tight. Before I flip the playfield over, I figured I'd go ahead and kind of point out a little more detail here with the trough light. This is a 4-inch light. Sometimes I'll actually put an 8-inch in, which will go all the way from here and then kind of wrap around up in this proximity. But honestly, a 4-inch works just about as good, maybe a little bit less light. But because it's in this area, it's right really behind the center point. You would think that this is not centered because this, visually you think this bend would be where the center is, but it's not. Really, the center is right about here, and it lines up with this area, and it throws the light right where it needs to be. So that works out fine. What I end up having to do is I do drill a hole through the playfield that's big enough just so that we can fit connectors through. But just to kind of flip things over, take a look on the other side here. So here's where it comes through, a couple wire clamps, and again, I'm using a lot of Comet Pinballs, LEDs, and a lot of their hardware, I think a lot of, and these the little extenders, the wiring, all the stuff that they offer. I've just got that tied in to the same area where I've tied in the lamps that are above the slings. So anyways, that's basically how I go about that for doing a trough light. All right, so we're gonna focus now on these slings, and the slings were working okay, but as I just kind of move these just manually right now, I can feel, just feels a little rough, maybe dragging a tiny little bit. So what we're going to do is we have to take this card out of the way. This is all it has, is just a lot of the lights that are underneath, or right underneath the playfield. We're going to get that out of the way. That way it'll give us some access to some screws here. Well, basically all we have to do is once we take 4 screws out to take this bracket loose, this will lift up, which will then actually pull it out of the spring. The plunger will come straight out. Then we'll just take these screws or the nuts and screws off here. Should take the bracket off this coil. That way we can get inside and we can swap out the sleeve on that one. And we're going to do the exact same thing on this guy. And then that will be addressed then. But I'll just go ahead and show you what's involved in case you haven't ever done something like this. It's really not hard. It's pretty straightforward. All right, so we got all the screws out and everything's coming apart here. So basically we just take this one little bracket off the end, just that supports the end of the sleeve, and of course the coil comes right off. If this were in really bad shape, which it's not, this basically, this coil stop, it's not really replaceable. I guess you would have to replace this whole bracket. I guess in theory you could actually drill that out. I've never had to deal with that, but anyways, it's just fine. It's just a little bit dirty. I might clean that off, just get a little bit of the good old Getaway dust off of it. But setting that to the side just for a minute. And so now what we got to do is slip out the old sleeve, and like I had mentioned on before, and this is a little bit tight. Not real happy about that. If they're tight, that's a good, it's a sign that you've had the coil to, if it's overheated because it's had a problem, that can cause that sleeve to not want to come out. So let me sit here and fight with this a little bit and see if I can get it out. All right, so I got it out. Basically what I had to do is just take a pair of pliers, and I was going to be ruining it anyways because it didn't matter. The thing was coming out and getting trashed and replaced. But once I got a good grip on it, it pulled out. It was still a little tight, which is a little concerning. However, here's the new sleeve, and just slipping this thing in, it went in no problem. So I think we're okay on this coil. So now it's just a matter of getting the brackets in all the pieces and putting Humpty Dumpty back together again. Okay, so I've got this reassembled, and one thing I wanted to mention, I've mentioned this before, like on some other things that we've worked on. Whenever you want to, put the coil back, put it back in the bracket, it's important to and I've got just a tiny little bit of movement here, but it's important to basically take the slop out. So this bracket, it's slotted a little bit, so when you're tightening these screws, and this is a little bit tricky because you got to have one hand holding the nut on the back, another hand holding the screw so that it's not moving, and then really need another hand to hold this and another hand to hold that. We need like 4 hands, which I don't have. So you're basically trying to hold everything together and keep everything here just kind of compressed and tight. I guess if I was smart, I would have taken something like a rubber band, or maybe something to go hold this all together. But you basically just grab it like this and kind of hold the tools, and then you just tighten this, the nuts and bolts down, and then it's good to go. You just don't want to leave it, all real sloppy in here, because that takes away a lot of the power. So now, just to put this back, we still had, now's the time to take a good look here at this, the link here on the end of this plunger. It seems like it's okay. I don't see, it's not cracked or anything. Sometimes these things take a beating and will crack, but this one seems to be fine. So now we'll go ahead and kind of compress that spring a little bit, slip this coil in the sleeve into the plunger, and then now we're ready to put the screws in. Okay, so we got the sleeves replaced in both of these, and oh, stupid me. I've positioned this coil backwards. These terminals were actually on that other side. It probably doesn't matter, but since I'd like to just kind of get it the way it was, I need to take this back apart, flip the coil around. I'm going to take care of that real quick, and then we're going to move on to putting this card back down in here, and then we'll have this side all put back. All right, so we got it all put back together, got the board with the lights put back in place, so those are lit up. So we want to test these slings, and the way to do this, that's pretty easily, if you just go into a test mode here. Okay, test mode, because I still don't have the date and time set. I don't care right now. just all you have to do is just be into a mode. You don't have to select any particular mode at all. But once you get it in that point, you can come over here and just go ahead and test the slings. They seem to be working. They're firing just fine. So, all right, so it's a short video for tonight. No, I don't have a whole lot I'm covering tonight, but anyways, that's done. Tomorrow we're gonna focus on, I don't know, this whole game is probably about 85% or so done. We still have to finish out the OCD LED boards, which maybe I'll install those in the next day or two. We'll go over that and I'll kind of show a before and an after, and why are we even doing that. Then we've got a couple other little things that we're trying to finish up on this game, and then we may be getting really close to calling it done. All right, thanks for watching.